You figured it out. Today's video is brought to you with our friends over at Raycon, the people chilling around disrupting the electronics industry with premium wireless audio. Half the price, no compromise. Trust me, I know. I'm listening to some Spotify right now while I'm doing this integration. It's a little confusing, I'll point it out there, but they do everything differently, all the way from the production, designing, and down to customer satisfaction. They really want you to be at the helm of it, start to finish. Now, they offer them in multiple fun colors. I got blue right over here because I really do like the color blue. Multiple patterns, variety of fit options, you name it. Did you know that Ray J co-founded the company? And do you know that there are plenty of celebrities like Snoop Dogg and my boy Mike Tyson, who, by the way, also love and use them. It's got a 45-day free return policy, so if you're not exactly enjoying it, they hooked you up with that. Don't you worry. Now, Raycon earbuds give you about 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth integration, because let me tell you, that stuff can be a little confusing to a boomer like me. More bass, and a compact design for a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Now, if you're trying to take a break from your computer, you're trying to walk away from those long hours of gaming, this won't make you completely disconnected. You'll still be able to hear what's going on. Personally, whenever I'm sleeping in Minecraft, I hate putting a big old headphone on, so I just slip Raycons in and sleep to my Minecraft wet dreams like no tomorrow. So if you want to experience Raycons, you can head on over to buyraycon.com/someordinarygamers for 15% off your next order. Hello guys and gals, it's me Mudahar, and clearly the green light and dark time means that I'm not sleeping, but instead I'm filming a video for you lovely lot out there. Now ladies and gentlemen, last time I made a video, really technical, it was regarding building the poor shamed computer, which was basically installing Linux and running virtual machines and passing through a graphic card. It happened because some Mac user decided to poor shame the heck out of me, telling me all about their shiny new iMac Pro, which I built a computer named Billy, and Billy outclassed it. Billy could do everything this Mac could do and more, which would be things like play video games, for instance. I know, cheap shot. But since then, Billy, bisexual Billy himself, decided to get a bit of an upgrade. And in doing so, I decided to be an idiot and buy an RTX 3090. Now, why was that a stupid move, okay? And actually, it's pretty antithetical to the idea of a poor shame computer, given the fact that that is one of the best GPUs on the market. Point being, the RTX 3090 sips more power than anything imaginable. Even Thor doesn't suck this much power. And that's really what it comes down to. So what does that mean? It means Billy lost the AMD graphic card. So, press F in the chat if you need to. I am sitting with one graphic card. Now, the entire point of the virtual machine rig was that I had an AMD graphic card to pass through to Mac and Windows. And I had an NVIDIA graphic card to just stay with Linux, meaning that I could use both systems. Now, unfortunately, this comes with some drawbacks. Yes, we are going to make some virtual machines. Yes, we are going to pass some GPUs. Yes, we are going to use the RTX 3090 on Linux and virtual machines. And you might be wondering, how's that possible? Well, I have an interesting little take for you. I have an interesting showcase. So let's sit back, relax, and start building this fucker together. So let's get started, okay? Now this whole guide is going to assume that you all are using Manjaro, okay? I've used this in multiple other pass-through videos before. Manjaro is what I expect you to use. Basically, since I'm an Arch Linux guy, I want you to sort of use Arch Linux, but if I was to teach you how to install it, that'd be a whole separate video. This is pretty much there, okay? It's pretty much there for the power user and the average Joe who wants to do this anyways. Now, I'm going to have a couple guides enabled onto this, okay? I'm going to have, like, the Arch Linux wiki up, and really, a lot of the single GPU stuff comes from these guys. So to give them credit, this is Joe Knock 90, I have to sort of see the setup here, who's created sort of the origin point for single GPU pass-through, okay? It has a lot of other people like Andre Richer, okay, Matto King, Sporif, Droidman, I love these names, Yuri Alec, who also has their own GitLab, so you can follow through all of it. And they do things for Mac OS VMs and Linux VMs and all this other stuff. So, to understand, all right, let's get down to business. I like these guides. The problem with some of these guides is that these guides, they work for certain people. The problem is you're going to have to adjust this piece by piece for every single thing you do, okay? So for some people, some things work, for some people they don't. This guide may not work for you. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. So to understand, even though that these exist, all right, and you definitely should go to these pages, I'm going to link them down in the description below for you to really use as sort of like a text tutorial, you may need to, your mileage may vary for once, and you may need to also adjust things as you go on, depending on what your computer is. I think the best comparison I can make to this whole situation is sort of like when you're cooking, you taste and adjust to your liking. And in this case, what I mean is that everyone's computer is necessarily different, right? So there's really no real program that you can just fire up and let it do all of this process for you. So when we go through this entire thing step by step, you may need to adjust things to your liking, to your specific computer. Remember, I'm only showing you what I'm able to do on my system. But if you adjust appropriately, you'll be able to make this work on nearly any system as far as I know. So let's get to the first step, which is actually to enable IOMMU grouping so that we can actually start to isolate our card and pass it back and forth. So first thing you want to do to enable IOMMU, you're going to have to go into your bootloader and change certain parameters. Now, I'm not a Manjaro guy by default, but Manjaro people actually utilize grub, okay? You may use something else like system deboot. You may use something like refine, but grub is sort of what Manjaro comes with. So you're going to type in sudo for super user nano, and then you're going to do /boot, and then you're going to do, wait a minute. Sorry, having a little brain fart. You're going to do /etc default grub. Okay, this is what you're going to enter. And then you get sent to this beautiful line over here. Now, you see where it says grub command line Linux default? Okay, you're going to go over here and you're going to enter a certain entry, okay? You're going to enter just maybe around just after security app armor. It kind of really doesn't matter. You're going to enter the words, all right, Intel, all right, _ IOMMU equals on. All right. Now, if you have an AMD one, well, it's very simple. Okay, you do backspace and you type AMD. It's very simple. I'm doing this purely for Intel because that's what I have. All right. So do Control X, hit Y to save, and bam. Now we're going to simply rebuild this nonsense. So do sudo grub. I can't type. Make config, and you're going to do -o/boot grub. And then grub.cfg, okay? And hit enter. So it generates the grub file, and once you are done, now you can finally hit reboot, okay? So you're going to have to do that just to enable the IOMMU grouping. So, all right, so finally, now that we're back, all right, next thing is to copy this lovely line from the wiki over here, dmessage, just read it real quick, dmessage, the straight bracket here, the straight line, grep-i-e dmar-e.iommu, okay? The reason we're entering this is just to check if IOMMU grouping is enabled. So do sudo, all right, enter it, and wait a minute, I entered the password wrong. It's really a 3. The password is 123. You can tell how stupid I am. Now, once you've enabled it, all right, just to understand this real quick, let me actually re-enter the line. This is kind of freaking me out a little bit. So once you enabled it, it should say right here somewhere IOMMU enabled, okay? And then it should say like adding to group 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 9, 9, 1, 1. So IOMMU is enabled, and we can finally isolate a GPU. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. Now, you can take this lovely piece of code, all right? This is a nice little script to sort of identify which graphic cards that we're going to be, the graphic card that we're going to be isolating, right? So paste that in, hit enter, and you see all this information right here, okay? What we're trying to find, all right, like before when we did this entire process, are the graphic cards that we're using. So right here you can see that this is my RTX 3090. I don't have any other graphic cards at all, okay? If I do a quick neo fetch just to show you, you can actually see right here that I have one GPU and one GPU only. So that's pretty much what we're working with. So first things first, in this lineup over here, just to make it a little bit more visible, is if you find NVIDIA Corporation, you see that I have 2, okay? So first things first, you may end up having like 4. You may end up having 3. It really depends on the graphic card that you have. Some of them have like a USB attached to them. Some of them have like extra doodads. RTX 3090 that I have has a video component and an audio component. That will exist no matter what, okay? If you see an extra component and it says PCI or whatever, that is sort of a gotcha. It's going to exist. What you need to make sure is no matter what, both of your NVIDIA devices are in their own IOMMU group. If these things have anything else involved, you're going to have to do things like ACS patching, and we're not going to cover that in this whole ordeal. So copy this and open up a text editor, like Kate in this instance for Manjaro guys and gals, and paste that in there. So this is important. We're going to keep this for later, because this is sort of an important process to the entire deal. So save that somewhere else. So we're going to save that, for instance, we're just going to call it NVIDIA GPU IDs. And bam, let's go to the next step. All right, so now we need to install all of our virtual machine stuff. So libvirt, QEMU, all of this stuff. So we're going to do it real quick by basically typing in sudo pacman s, which is of course our package installers for those of you who don't know, QEMU libvirt, all right, edk2-ovmf. Again, I'm just reading from the wiki, okay? So it's not, a monkey could do it at this point. Virt manager, and you also need EB tables and DNSMASQ. Okay, you need all this shit. So enter it and hit Y. So this installs all of it. Kind of looks like you're Hacker Man at this point, but these are all your virtual machine tools that you'll be using. We're not going to touch them right now. We're just going to have them installed, okay? You're also going to type in, once you have this installed, you're going to do sudo systemctl enable libvirtd dot service, okay? So enable that, and then you want to start the service. You can also do enable dot space dash dash now, but this is just something that looks more simpler for everyone watching. So sudo systemctl enable once more, and this time you're going to do virtlog d dot socket, okay? And then you're also going to start that. So once you've done that, you've started all of these services over here. Then you're going to do sudo virsh net auto start default, because this is the network that by default is going to be used on your virtual machines. And then just for the argument over here, we're going to do it once more, but we're going to type in net dash start just to start it in this case. So once that's done, bam, you don't have to touch this for a while. So exit out of here. So next thing is finally to start isolating our graphic card. All right, so this next step is a weird one. Now, in order to pass through the single GPU that we have, we also need to patch its firmware as well. So for those of you who don't know, every graphic card has a bit of a VBIOS or a BIOS or a firmware or whatever you want to call it. The thing is, you can pass this through without doing this step, but that's for certain graphic cards. Some graphic cards need to have their BIOS patched. Some don't. Some have an entirely different step. I've heard that NVIDIA people need to do this. AMD people don't need to. The point being is, I have to do it for my RTX 3090, okay? So I'm going to go through this step. If you don't need to do this and you know that, you can gladly skip this step, but I'm going to go through with it just to show you, because most of everyone that I have seen doing this requires a patched BIOS. So we're going to do that ourselves. Now, there's two ways that we can get BIOSes, okay? We can download a tool and we can run a command. For instance, I'm not going to show this to you right now. I'm going to show you some pre-recorded video of it, but basically there are tools that exist that allow you to open this up in a command line and save the firmware directly from your GPU. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this is slightly dangerous to use, okay? For some reason, this is used explicitly for, well, I know why, for people who are overclocking their graphic cards and they're going above and beyond. But we're not doing that. We're saving a ROM. Now, again, using the software, I'm going to tell you it's at your own risk. I'm not responsible. Now, I ran this on my RTX 3090, okay? That's like risking 1,500 bones. So I did it. It worked for me. But again, if you feel unsafe, there are a lot of resources that you can go to. For instance, this is a website known as Tech Power Up. They offer VGA BIOSes. So if you know your exact card, for instance, like if you can isolate the exact graphic card that you have, you can download the ROM directly from them without even accessing these programs yourself. But if you can't find it, and you feel comfortable using, dumping tools, then go for it. But again, it's entirely up to you. Once you have that entire ROM, for instance, save it somewhere and call it something like, for instance, RTX ROM right over here. This is the ROM for my graphic card. I dumped it myself, but again, we need to patch it ourselves too. So we need a hex editor. Now, if you're on Manjaro, there's plenty of good hex editors. I'm going to show you one that I use. So do sudo pacman-s and type in bless. So open up bless hex editor. Now, of course, you may look at this like some weird arcane magic. Don't. Go to File, Open, go to your desktop, and find rtx.rom, or whatever you called yours. Once you open it up, you're like, oh, this is where the real arcane begins. Again, don't freak out. We're going to go search, and we're going to go find, and we're going to search for the term video, okay? So as we search for video, we're going to search for text, and we're going to find next. And eventually, if you're looking right here, for instance, okay, I'm going to zoom in for you. It says K7400LW, but video, right? And this entire segment over here, okay, if we zoom in just a bit further, you can see that this is obviously the referencing NVIDIA, GPU board, whatever. To patch this, believe it or not, where it says U, which is the hexadecimal value for 55, all right, we're going to highlight everything that comes before U, okay? You might be like, whoa, that's a lot of shit right here. Once you do it, delete. So now U, nothing before U exists, okay? This is a patched ROM, okay? This might freak you out a little bit, but don't let it freak you out. Now, save as. Do not save over your original dump. Keep that somewhere else. Back that shit. And we're going to call this patch.rom. All right, we're going to save it. So once you're done that, you can see that we have both RTX and patch ROM sitting right next to each other. Now, of course, just to show you what we shaved off, the original is 976 kilobytes, okay? While patch right here is 939. Lost a little weight, I see. All right, next step right here. We're going to have to install the actual operating system, okay? So we're going to get things going a little bit. Now, first things first, we're going to be using Windows, okay? Like people who want to create a Windows VM, okay? You can pretty much use anything. To get Windows ISO, you're just going to go search Windows 10 on Google. Microsoft itself, no, we're not getting 11, that's for goddamn sure. We have to go to download Windows 10 disk image. Microsoft provides a free disk image. You can use this. The only thing is they'll give you a watermark on the bottom right, okay? You click Windows 10, whatever language you want, hit confirm, and you want to download the 64-bit version. We're not getting the 32-bit, we're getting the 64-bit. Once you download it, you're going to have the Windows 10 ISO, and it's going to be roughly 5 gigs, okay? So if I can show you where I've downloaded this behemoth of an operating system, right here, Windows 10 20H2 V2, okay? So this is the ISO that we're going to be using. So again, the general premise is we're going to go open up libvirt, and we're going to install this like we normally would. You're going to go open up the little start menu over here, and you're going to type in Virtual Machine Manager. And in Virtual Machine Manager, you're going to give it your sudo password, and you're going to connect to your IOMMU KVM server. As you can see, wow, we don't really have any single virtual machine installed and ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this big, nice Create a New Virtual Machine button. We're going to go to Local Install Media, hit that forward. We're going to browse to where we stored that ISO file. So I'm going to go to Desktop. I'm going to find Windows 10 20H2. We're going to hit Enter. We're going to hit Forward. All right. If it detects that it's Windows 10, you're already good. If it tells you, oh, you don't have search permissions, do you want to correct this now? Absolutely. You're going to give it some memory. I have 64 gigs on my computer. I'm going to be nice and give it 32 gigabytes, okay? Give it a little 50-50 real estate. When it asks you CPU, I'm going to give it 14, keep 2 for myself. Hit forward, it's going to ask you to create a disk image. 40 gigs is nothing for the behemoth that Windows is. I'm going to give it something normal like 250 gigabytes, all right? Now hit forward, and if you see customize configuration before install, Jesus Christ, hit that yes. Make sure that virtual network is default, and once you hit finish, you'll be at this menu. So now what do you do with this menu? You see where it says chipset? You're going to go over here and make sure that's Q35. Firmware BIOS, that's not going to work. You're going to create OVMF code.fd, not secboot, the FD, the normal one without it. So once you've done that, hit apply. What this means is this enables UEFI, okay? UEFI is needed to hijack a graphic card. You don't do that, you're going to be playing on some old school poor man BIOS. Now in the CPU section, you're going to go to topology, and over here, all right, because I hate how Linux handles this, I'm going to give this the exact manual topology that I have. Now, typically, you're going to have one socket, all right, because you only have one CPU in your motherboard. Your cores are going to be your real cores. Now, since I am on an i9-9900K, I know that I have 8 cores. And I know I have 2 threads per core, giving me 16 cores, right? 8 real, 8 logical. I'm going to give it 7 cores and 2 threads, basically equaling up to 14 that I'm allocating. I'm going to hit apply. Again, your processor may be different. If you have one of those thread rippers, go to town, baby. You're going to go to memory, make sure it's 32,000 or whatever you set. Your boot options need to enable the CD-ROM. I don't know why the they don't enable it to start off with. It's just really dumb to me, but you're going to make sure that CD-ROM works. Otherwise, you're going to scratch your head wondering why the you can't boot into Windows 10 CD. So you're going to make sure Windows 10 is enabled here. You're going to make sure all of this looks fine. And now that that is done, hit the begin installation key. So it says press any key to boot DVD. All right, go over here. I'll move this around so you can see it a little bit better. And as you can see, it's loading up the Windows 10 setup. Now you're going to go through this entire setup, all right? And again, I'm going to skip this because nobody really needs to see it, okay? I think most people watching my channel have installed Windows 10 already. It's kind of like a rite of passage to even watch. So again, I'm going to skip this section, and I will see you when Windows 10 is installed. All right, so now that we're back, ladies and gentlemen, with the magical Windows 10 installation finally done. At this point, once it's installed over here, you can actually open up the start menu and just shut it down. This is good. This is what we needed. We just needed it installed for now. Now it's time to start making hooks, okay? So for those of you, all right, this is the next step. We need to be able to unjack, rejack, hijack this card every time we start and stop this virtual machine. Okay, we need to be able to take the card out of Linux and put it into Windows every time we start the VM. And then obviously, once we shut it down, we need to take it out of Windows and refire it back into Linux. Otherwise, the card's going to be sitting in limbo without any destination at all. So what we're going to be doing, all right, is we're going to be going to this post, all right, this website called the Pass-Through Post. Now, we've done it before for Mac OS, but we're going to go back to this just literally so that we can utilize their already pre-made tools. Every single guide you'll go to constantly references this. So we're going to right-click on this, all right, and we're basically going to go and we're going to open up a new terminal. Now, first things first, before we do anything over here, okay, if we just paste this, you'll notice very quickly it doesn't actually have a directory. So open up super user, all right, create a quick account by typing in su and your password, and then you'll see the whole lettering has changed. Now that it's red, we're basically in the root account. So now we can do all the commands that super user accounts can do without typing sudo, okay? Again, don't go into this just all the time, all right? I'm only showing you this to save time when we're entering things, okay? So quickly, what you want to do is you want to go to you want to do mkdir, which is make directory, all right? Right-click etc, all right? Libvirt, all right, which is the virtualization folder, and inside over here, what we need to do is we need to make a hooks folder, okay? So create that, and once that is done, okay, now we can right-click, paste this, we can actually exit out of this real quick, okay, since we're doing a sudo command. Right-click, paste, hit enter, and it's already done right there in front of you. It's already preset all of this. Now you're going to copy the sudo chmod plus x, which is basically to make this script that we just downloaded executable. So, or whatever's in here. So enter that, and bam, we have basically been doing all this, and we're good. So now we're going to install a program just to make visualization a little easier. So do sudo pacman-S and type in tree, okay? Now what is tree? Okay, I'm going to show you real quick. Once we've installed it and you type in the word tree, you'll notice that it makes visualization of your directory structure a lot easier in the terminal. Now, for note's sakes, okay, I actually have my scripts ready to go, okay? So here I've got a bunch of scripts that I pulled off of my main workstation, and I'm going to show you real quick, all right, what these are all about. So if I just open these, all right, with Kate and open all of this, you can see that these scripts may seem a little bit complicated. I will explain every single aspect of this, but first, we have to create our directory structure for all of these hooks. Now, if we go back to our virtual virt manager, you can see that our virtual machine is called Win10. This is what it defaults to, but we're going to keep the default, okay? So keep it Win10. Now open up a terminal real quick, all right? And you want to do, and I'm going to increase the font. You're going to do su to go into your super user account. And first things first, okay? This is the structure that you're going to create, okay? So you're going to go to make directory. So again, you can enter these commands in succession on your own, and that's just how it goes, okay? So make directory, all right, /etc libvirt hooks, okay? And you're going to do, and when it says QEMU, you're also going to make QEMU.d, okay? Now, in QEMU.D, you're going to go to Win10. All right, you're going to make that. We're going to call this Win10 because of the actual virtual machine. If you named it like Win10 Rick Ashley, you do that. But we're going to do Win10 as default. And let me just stretch this out a little bit more. Make directory Win10, and then you're going to create another directory within it called prepare. This is going to be sort of what the actual hook is when we're starting the virtual machine. Then you're going to do make directory in Win10 again, so backspace prepare, and do release. So this is what's going to happen. Once we kill the VM, it's going to release it out of its colon, and bam, we're back to Linux. So now, if we're going to go do this, we're going to go to cd, all right, etc, libvirt, all right, and we're going to just, now that we're in that folder, I'm going to hit tree. Oh, that's actually really terrible. Okay, we're going to go to hooks. All right, so now that we're in the hooks, all right, I'm going to create tree. All right, and as you can see, I actually really messed up here. So it shouldn't look like this. In fact, it should look like this. So basically, in order to get it there, I just want you to add a couple more commands. And that's pretty much it. So all you need to do is enter these two lines. Anytime that I need to reference or modify anything in these folders, I'll pause the video real quick like this, and I'll tell you what you should enter. And that's pretty much how it goes. Now, in this, what we're going to do is we're going to go to sudo again. All right. Well, we're in our root account. Given the fact that you see this redness, this is the root account. It also is denoted with the shebang right over here, or the hashtag if you're a Twitter addict. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do nano, and we're gonna do etc. Okay. We're gonna do libvirt. All right. Hooks, and then we're gonna call something called kvm.conf. Okay, now in kvm.conf, what we're going to do is we're going to create our definition. So we're going to do versh, all right, underscore GPU underscore video. Okay, this is for versh, all right, which is the virtualization, tool set we're going to, GPU for your graphic card, and video. So what is video going to be? Well, first off, the default is always going to be PCI underscore 0000. Okay, you're going to use this as the base. Now, remember when I told you way back to save it when we looked at your IOMMU groups? These are both things that I need to pass. Now, in this case, these numbers right here are the most important that we're going to be using. So, for instance, my actual video compatible controller, the video side, is 0100.0. Okay? So, very quickly, at the end of this, we're going to be doing underscore 01 underscore 00 underscore 0. You see how it's just 01000, except the colon and the dot are replaced with underscores. Now we're going to do the same for the audio section. So versh underscore GPU underscore audio equals PCI underscore 4 zeros. And then, of course, as you can see, 01, 00, 01. Now, let's say that you have USBs if you have any other devices, feel free to add them accordingly. So let's say you had a USB, port in your GPU. You would do something like versh GPU USB, right? Or let's say that you were trying to pass a keyboard. You could do like versh keyboard, right? And then, the appropriate address for your keyboard. I'm only going to stay here because this is all we need, for me at least. Your mileage, again, may vary. Adjust to your liking. So again, Control X and hit Y and save that. So now that we're done, we have our configuration and our definitions ready to go. So it's time to create our actual script. Now I've got my script over here, but we're going to write it because when you write things, you tend to learn and understand them better, right? Holy shit. So you're going to go to nano again. You're going to do /etc. Okay, you're going to go to libvirt. All right. You're going to go to hooks. And you're going to go to QEMUD. You're going to go to Win10. You're going to go to prepare. And in your prepare, you're going to start calling this something like, say, start.sh. Actually, what you should enter is this command to reflect the earlier mistake that I had made and shown you. Now, I was going to show you this script being written, but honestly, I can explain it a lot better. So once you've entered that last command, you should see this window. Well, not exactly. You're going to write exactly what you see over here, but you're going to want to change this to adjust. Remember, all these scripts are basically written with the individual person's computer in their mind. So for instance, let me go over the basics. So at the top, you'll see hashtag debugging set X. Then you'll see shebang load variables we defined, and then source etc libvirt hooks kvm conf. You're going to want to enter this because what we just entered before, the Versh GPU audio and video, we're going to be calling those definitions later on in this script. And then you're going to see stop display manager. This is important. And again, it's all reflective of the system that you end up owning. So since I'm using Manjaro here for this example, I know that we use SDDM as the display manager service. So I'm going to type in systemctl stop sddm.surface. Now with unbind VT consoles, you're going to want to echo 0 to every sys class VT console VTCon you have. Now everyone has VTCon 0/bind, but you're going to want to check yourself by entering the command in a terminal ls /sys class VT console / and enter that, and if it says anything more than VT console 0, like let's say VTCon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, enter all of those appropriately. They all need to be entered. Then with unbind EFI frame buffer, you're going to want to enter that line exactly as it's written. Now with avoid race condition, basically this means that we need those last few things we enter to properly process. So if you end up for instance, the next stage, as you can see, is unloading drivers. If we start unloading drivers while the stuff previously is still processing, it tends to cause a problem. Now, I've entered an abnormally long number, 10. This will make the system wait 10 seconds before proceeding the script. Now, I've seen people put it as low as 3, some people have put it to 5, 6, 7. Again, honestly, adjust in taste. For me, 10 is stable. You may be stable with the number 5. It'll mean quicker boots, and that's pretty much how it works. So, again, adjust to your liking. Now, unload NVIDIA is for the NVIDIA graphic card users. AMD will have their own equivalent, and you should look that up. So here's where you're going to type modprobe-r and unload every driver that you have loaded. It's okay to enter a bit excessively over here, but you should really unload what your system is running. Then with unbind GPU, you're going to type in versh no-dev detach and see where we had $versh GPU video. We're literally referencing what we just entered, those KVM, those versh GPU video audio. So enter everything that you have referenced as related to specifically your graphic card. Then you want to load VFIO, which is modprobe VFIO, VFIO PCI, and VFIO IOMMU type 1. That should really be the basic layout of your first script. Again, taste and adjust to your liking. Now, first things first, we're going to do chmod plus x, all right, // /etc libvirt hooks qemu.d win10 prepare and start.sh. That makes our script executable. Now let's make our revert script, okay? So this is what happens now when we actually when we actually shut down our virtual machine. So we're going to do nano etc libvirt hooks qemu.d win10 release, and then we're going to do revert.sh, okay? So in revert.sh, now the script to do reverse, now the revert script is actually quite simple to follow as well too, so we'll just go down the order of operations mathematically. So set x, of course, as for debugging. We load the variables once again, versh GPU video and audio by doing source etc libvirt hooks kvm.conf. Then we unload the VFIO PCI drivers. Remember, once we shut the VM down, we want to unload all of those drivers that are currently hijacking the NVIDIA GPU or whatever GPU for the VM. Then we do the rebind GPU, which is versh no-dev reattach video and audio. So again, you want to copy this sort of from the previous script based on how many lines you have entered. Then you want to rebind your VT consoles, which again, you echo 1 to sys class VT console VTCon bind 1. All right, echo 1. And then, of course, if there are more VTCons available, you sort of add that line as well. Again, taste and adjust to your liking. Read NVIDIA xconfig. Now, again, AMD may not need to do this, but NVIDIA, from what I know, needs to. So you type in NVIDIA xconfig -- query -GPU -info greater than sign dev null 2 greater and 1. Now, I don't know what that query GPU info line does, but apparently it will bring back the card and it'll get it up and running. bind EFI frame buffer. So you want to echo the EFI frame buffer 0 to sys bus platform drivers EFI frame buffer bind. And then you want to load your graphic drivers again. So you want to load all those drivers that you unloaded. Again, look at the previous script and load what you unloaded then. Then you want to restart the display service finally. So again, depending on what you have, since we're on Manjaro, we're going to use systemctl start sddm.service. And again, once you're done, save it and close it. This is pretty much what we're going with, and that's how it works. Okay, so this is the script in general. But again, adjust it to your system. This is why these scripts are important. You need to understand what's going on, and then you need to adjust it to whatever is in your actual computer at that time. So now that we can save it, and again, chmod plus x, etc, libvirt, hooks, qemu.d, win10, release, and revert.sh. So again, it makes it executable. Now, let's try running one of these and seeing if it blanks a screen out. So go to cd, all right. Okay, now it apparently works. So cd qemut Windows 10, prepare, and in prepare, all right, all we can do is /start.sh, all right. If everything works, you've seen my graphic card be unloaded. Now, at this point, I'm going to have to force the computer off and restart it because there's no virtual machine for it to hit. All right, so let me restart the computer and we'll come back to the magical party. That is single GPU modification. Now, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, to truly understand, we have gotten past the hard part. Okay, gamers, now that we're here, okay, this is the next big step. Okay, so we're going to have to make sure that a couple things are done. So as you can see, I've attached my both of my gaming mouse and keyboard directly to the virtual machine. Since I can only use one system at a time, I figured it might just be smart to pass through the actual device itself. Now, you go to Add Hardware, PCI Host Device, and you're going to pass in everything related to your graphic card. So NVIDIA Corporation, NVIDIA Corporation. I only have two, so I'm going to pass through again, as you can count, two. All right, this ain't Sesame Street. Know exactly what we're doing here. So now, to add on extra, we need to pass through the ROM that we actually patched, okay? So remember when we patched our firmware a while back? Well, now it's time to actually enter this the way that good old God intended. So in this whole situation, okay, since Virtual Machine Manager is kind of a baby about this, we're going to go to Edit, Preferences, and we're going to enable XML editing, okay? I'm just going to put it out there, all right? We need to edit this. So first things first, underneath source and between address, you're going to type in the words. You're going to put in 2 brackets, and you're going to enter it exactly as it is. So do ROM and then file equal and a little 2 commas right over here, or one just sort of apostrophe. And you're going to type in /home. Now, again, you got to find the actual file path of where you put your ROM. So right here in my home directory, within Jimbob, which is my user account, exists patch.rom, okay? So you're going to do home, all right, /Jimbob/patch.rom. Again, taste and adjust. Yours might be different. And then you're going to do one more apostrophe and a / to tie it all off. And if you hit apply, it should just sort of readjust and do everything for you. Now, you can basically copy this beautiful little line, go to every single section in your PCI, make an enter between source and address, paste, and apply. So now that is done. But if you're on an NVIDIA card like I am, you have to do a couple things that will allow you to even use this card. So recently, okay, this is a big important thing, all right? NVIDIA has always initiated some exit code called 43. NVIDIA doesn't really like it when you do virtual machines with their off-the-shelf graphic cards. They kind of want you to pay like $20,000 for like a Tesla card or something. And I believe at this point, AMD is just black screening people, okay? So what we need to do is we need to basically spoof a couple things. So inside this overview and where it says XML, what we need to do is we need to find the KVM section real quick, or sorry, the features. So around here, you're going to see features, right? And in the features, you're going to go all the way down very carefully until you come across the other end of this. So yeah, basically we're at the end. So where it says /features, you're at the end. So just before this, add another line, all right? Or sorry, not here, sorry. You see where it says Hyper-V? and then slash Hyper-V. Okay, somewhere in here, you're going to have to enter, just under spin lock state, another bracket, and you're going to do vendor ID, vendor underscore ID, state equal, comma, on, comma, and then you're going to do value, and you're going to give it any sort of random ID, okay? I'm going to call this butt plug, okay? You can do whatever you want, okay? You can give it the ID of butt plug, and it will work, I promise you. Hit apply, and as you can see, we're passing a value of butt plug. All right, once that is done, all right, you may need to actually hide the KVM CPU flag itself, but there's no real reason to do it. So now that that is done, okay, make sure everything is saved, slash that apply button a bunch of times, and hopefully, God willing, when we hit this play button, it will work. So let's do it. It does not. You see that Windows 10? If we click on it and hit play, the screen blanks out. And then you see your BIOS screen or whatever. Now wait 10 seconds for the script to execute. And then, I promise you by God, we are going to see Windows 10 in this moment. We're going to see Windows 10. We're going to see it. Wait. Just wait. I know you're sitting on the no signal. I know you're sitting on it. I know you're sitting on it. It's loading. I promise you. I promise you by God it's loading. I am so excited for this. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. It's loading. Wait. What's that? What's that? Jim Bob is now hijacked by Windows. And to prove it to you that this isn't some troll, I'm going to go to Device Manager. I'm going to show you display. RTX 3090. It's there. It is there. I promise you, it is there. RTX 3090. We have actually passed through the GPU as expected. Now, to show you how awesome it is, now let's say you want to close the VM, okay? And to prove to you further, Windows knows it's being virtualized. See, it knows virtual machine is yes. In fact, it's getting a generic processor. We're going to hit the Windows key. We're going to go and we're going to shut down the OS. And to show you, it's going to go right back to Linux. And it is in Linux. God bless. We have successfully passed through the single GPU solution. God bless, indeed. Hey, buckos! Look at the time right now. It is currently morning. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this may be one of my most technical, my most dry videos, but you know what? I had an enjoying time making it. There was a lot of hair being pulled. There was a lot of anger. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this entire project. But you know what? I built Billy with the intention to virtualize everything that Windows 10 offers. And you know what? By God, I did it. My RTX 3090. In fact, this is for everyone out there who couldn't fit another graphic card into their system, who couldn't afford an extra GPU around. You can do this with whatever you have lying around. Ladies and gentlemen, long story short, without sounding too wild about it, this is something that I have absolutely had a blast doing. Now, throughout this entire project, I may have made some mistakes, and there's probably going to be a lot of appending going on in the video as you see fit. But you can't blame me for it. This was something that is definitely going to be very finicky. Of course, as the entire phrasing went on, you know, if you're going to do this, understand that you're going to have to adjust and taste based on what you have going for you, but it is actually very doable for a lot of people out there with relative gaming computers. So you may be wondering, Mudo, what's the point of this? You could have just dual booted the entire time, and you know what? You're right. I could have dual booted and avoided staying up all night to perform a project, but you want to know what? It's actually fun. Consider me somebody that tinkers and engineers for just a passion of myself. You know, I would rather do this than go out and party with friends. And I know that sounds incredibly sad, but you know what? Given the fact that I'm still in lockdown, this is the best I got. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to let me know what you think about this. How many of you are actually going to attempt it? I'm probably wagering 3 or 4 out of you. But without keeping this video longer than it is, I'm almost considering this might be an over hour-long video. But if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. This is me, Mutahar, and I'm out.